A lot to get through, and we are just the boys to bring it to you. Looking out that window over Simon's shoulder today, it would be highly unlikely if there was any cricket to be had in this part of the world today that the cricket would be had, because the weather is extremely poor, murky, grey skies and a fair bit of rain. Having said that, that's not the topic of conversation at this stage when we talk about cricket, because we're going to talk about ticket prices. That's where we're going with this. Last month's test against Sri Lanka saw crowd numbers fall, with just 9,000 fans attending the fourth day of the second test at Lord's, even though it was on a Sunday and saw almost a full day's play. Price of the tickets came into the debate there for the poor number of spectators. 115 quid to 140 for adults. So after that, the MCC got together and said, right, we'll review our pricing policies going forward. So they have done. So for the first 3 days of the test against India next year, from July the 10th onwards, the cheapest adult ticket will be 90 quid. That comes with a restricted view. Tickets without a restricted view are priced between 120 and 175. In other words, they've increased the price of tickets. Cricket editor here at talkSPORT is Jon Norman. John, good morning to you. The MCC said, right, let's review our ticket pricing policies. They did it, then they put the ticket price up. What are they up to?
Well, I suppose that they will be pointing to the fact that the opposition that England face next year is far removed from the one that we saw this year. India are one of the powerhouses, or the powerhouse in world cricket. They bring with them a massive support, a massive interest. And I suppose Lords are factoring that in. And I think it should also be important to remember this isn't just a Lords situation. Tickets on day 4 at the Oval, which presents itself as the People's Test, were similarly poor. I mean, the photos that you would have seen from day 4 at the Oval and at Lord's were ones that you would more see or more resemble in county cricket. And I imagine when the Oval releases its prices for the India Test next year, they won't be far off what Lord's have done in the last 24 hours. So I'm not really surprised. I suppose in some ways the proof of the pudding will be whether those day 4 tickets, which are fractionally cheaper than the days 1 to 3, attract more of an audience, and whether we see sold out signs going on outside Lord's and the Oval for the entirety of the test match rather than just the first 3 days.
I mean, David Lloyd comes at it from a different direction. He says, no doubt the ground will be full, but it prices out many people. It's in danger of becoming an elitist showpiece. He says, they know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Those are strong words, aren't they, John?
And so it's been for many years. I mean, and again, this isn't just Lord's, right? Bumble's ground is Old Trafford. I was there this year reporting for talkSPORT, and during the lunch break, I went for a walk around the ground, and I set myself a kind of simple task. It was one I managed quite easily. Count how many children are in this ground. How many children, when I walk from one side of the ground to the other, around the entirety of Old Trafford, which has done a great job of late, how many kids do I see? How many kids have had their parents fork out the price of a ticket to come and see a day's test cricket? And I'll tell you how many I counted. 10. I saw more kids holding flags on the outfield before the game started than I saw on my walk around the ground. So there is a problem. Bumble has called it correctly. It's not just about bums on seats. It's not just about making money. It's about safeguarding and making sure that this sport is attractive and relevant and accessible. And bear in mind, cricket has admitted it's got an inclusivity problem. And it's not just about selling tickets today. It's about selling tickets tomorrow.
The MCC seem to have forgotten that, Simon, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I would look at their thinking and say, well, I imagine if it's being replicated at Old Trafford or Edgbaston or Headingley or at Trent Bridge, it's not just the MC. It's ultimately looking at the entire configuration. I would wonder why lots of children would be at a cricket match, because they should be at school, given the fact that it's played during the day. So I would think that would probably factor into the equation as to why children aren't at cricket matches during the day. But the bottom line is you've got T20 for the next generation of cricket fans. Test cricket is put at a price at the end of the spectrum in terms of the blue ribbon event. If you look at sports and you suggest that sports are expensive, you go to a Premier League match, you're there for an hour and a half. You will pay £50-60. You're at a cricket ground
minimum
from 10:30 in the morning or whenever 11 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening. You've got 8 hours of elite sport. So with due respect, if you do it on a prorated basis about what you're watching and how you're watching it, there is a correlation between what elite sport costs. The reason why the Sri Lankan numbers are what they are is because they're a poor side, and the intrigue and the interest and the jeopardy in that particular set of games wasn't quite that in the same way it will be against
I get that,
Australia or
but
India.
for India next summer, John, 90 quid for a restricted view. I mean, the top price is 175, and then you've got a view that entitles you to see everything. But I don't get it. I don't understand why they don't carry on. I understand it's India, and I get the point you make that they are more of a nation that people would want to watch. The cricket purists will want to watch it. But 175 quid for a day or not, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's a phenomenal amount of money. That Old Trafford test took place in August. So you'd assume that there would be a couple more kids because, of course, school doesn't start till September. But you are right. This is how they model their pricing. I spoke to somebody at the Oval who works at Surrey a few years back, and I brought up the problem with ticket prices. And he said to me that they base their ticket prices in part to the Emirates. You know, they're a London club. It's a pinnacle event. And essentially, as Simon said, you're paying for 8 hours of entertainment rather than 90 minutes. But I put it to you that football is far more successful in attracting a younger audience. Football is the nation's sport. It's the number one sport. It's incredibly popular. And essentially, cricket can dream of being in the same sphere as football. And on occasion, it is when the Ashes is in town, and possibly when India are too. But there's no way that you can hold cricket alongside football and say, well, the Emirates are charging this amount, so we should charge 4 times as much because we're giving more hours. But similarly, I also agree, football has a problem as well. As a Fulham fan, I tell you what, I can't afford to bring my kid to come and watch Fulham in the Riverside stand anymore. You know, so it does go both ways. But I think that
Where's the
cricket,
money going? Where's the money going?
the money from the ticket sales either goes to the club, a percentage goes to the ECB. But in the main, these clubs, whether it's the MCC at Lords or whether it's Surrey at the Oval, they pay for a package of test matches. And this is decided years in advance. You know, it has already been decided which matches will take place at every single cricket ground up until the year 2031.
But once the money lands in these clubs, where does it go? Does it go into the pockets of individual benefactors? Does it go into the shareholders, or does it go back into some form of grassroots cricket?
Well, the money that goes back to the ECB will go back into grassroots cricket. But if you look at the makeup of how much money the ECB makes, the vast majority of it, and the ECB is a not-for-profit organisation that reinvests 90% of the money it makes back into grassroots cricket, recreational game. The vast majority of the money that the ECB makes is from its broadcast deal, 75%. It does take a percentage of the ticket sales, so the money will go back to the game. But if you take the MCC because this is the top line, this is what we're talking about. They've got a £60 million redevelopment of one of their stands. They've just completed a £50 million redevelopment, and the money that is made from the gate receipts, £20 million last year, plus £25 million to hospitality, that will be reinvested into those new stands.
Well, then it's like the question at Yorkshire, isn't it? Headingley, the fact that Yorkshire Cricket Club needed the fellow at the top, Colin Graves, whatever it was, to fund that cricket club, and ultimately the revenue that it generates from Test cricket doesn't actually wash its face.
That's right.
Somewhere along the line, the idea that there's a load of people profiting and making a huge amount of money out of this may well be the revenue that is needed to generate to support the structure of cricket.
It could be, Simon, but having said that, though, Danny, they're not listening to other people in the game. Ben Stokes, their current captain, just make it cheaper for people to come and watch. Pretty easy solution in my eyes.
But if you think of pop concerts, football, cricket, theatre, all those things. The prices go up based on demand.
What's Ben Stokes' central contract worth?
Exactly. But if yeah, I know where you're
John,
going with
what's
that.
his central contract worth? Do you know?
And again, this is an absolutely key point because the players, and I think Ben Stokes' central contract is around £2 million.
Oh, there you are then.
Okay, no, you're absolutely nailed on right. It's not just as simple as just reducing the ticket prices. You know, the success of Test cricket is not going to be, centering on 30 quid being knocked off the cost of a ticket, because it's all linked. If the broadcast deal goes up and the broadcasters want more value for their money, so they want the players to play more, the players then earn more, and somebody's got to pay for it.
Okay, we're getting a lot of calls on this, John. 03717 223344 81089. Next year, if you want to watch England take on India in July, the first 3 days of the test, 90 quid for a restricted view, and between 120 and 175 for a view, and you will see the lot. Mick is a big cricket fan, as I understand it. Mick, good morning. You've been waiting patiently. What do you want to say on this?
Morning, lads. Belated happy birthday, Mr. Jordan, for yesterday.
Thank you, mate. Very kind of you.
Hello, Danny. Hope you ain't nicked any bikes lately.
No, not for a long time. Morning.
Good morning.
That was good, mate. On you go.
What I was going to say about the cricket with the ECB, they know exactly what they're doing, Jim, because at Lords, they will sell out, especially with India, yeah? But you'll have a crowd in there of stuff shirts that won't create an atmosphere like you'll get at Headingley or Trent Bridge. They will sell them tickets, no problem. And they know that.
Yeah. And so you think that it's on the MCC here to reduce the ticket price, though, Mick, so that everybody can go and see it or have a better chance of going to watch it?
Listen, they should give some tickets to local clubs, grassroots that games, or to people that teach kids concessions that they go with top players.
Okay, mate, thanks for that. Roger's a Nottingham Forest fan and no doubt a cricket fan as well in that part of the world. Roger, what's your take on it?
I think it's... Good morning, lads.
Morning.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous and totally unfair. Okay, so Ben Stokes might be on a £2 million a year contract. I would think that Ben Stokes is probably worth that money, but that money should not be coming from the paying public who pay to enjoy a test match. This is absolutely ridiculous. I love cricket like I love football, and I also will say that I've been to many test matches at Trent Bridge. However, I would not be going to a test match to pay this sort of money, and I wish everybody who thinks of this decides to do the same thing. Watch it on TV and don't go.
Roger, do you agree with
make these change?
Do you agree with David Lloyd? It prices out many people. It's in danger of becoming an
on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.